Guys, this is Casual with nerdhammer.net, and welcome to round 4 of the Sylvania GT. So this is game 2. I wake up, we get our pairings, and I am facing the famous Mike Rossi of the Northeast. If you don't know who Mike Rossi is, he's a player. I think he's with the Shambling Hordes up in New England area. I've seen him at Crossroads lots of times. He runs with a good group of gamers. He's probably in the top 20, I would say, in the Northeast for Masters. Good player, excellent guy, and I finally get to play against him, and he brought Empire this time, and it's actually, I think it's a really good Empire list. In fact, it's something similar to what I'm going to be running with my Death Heads for a while, and when I finally get the Knights done. So let's see how it goes. This centerpiece here, we decided that would be impassable, but this would just be a hill around this area, so yeah, that's what that looks like. On this side, I have my Furies, my Beasts. He has 2 steam tanks, so I'm tucking my big guys in behind, hopefully to save them from round shooting. And I prefixed this tournament with I played the worst game of my life and the best game of my life, and I think this is about the best tactical game I've ever played. I don't know, you see for yourself as we move forward, but I felt like I want to be able to compete in the Northeast. I want to, be in the running for Masters, and is this caliber of player that I need to be playing and being able to do well against. And there's just some people that you've met in like sporting events and playing sports and stuff where they just play to the level of the competition, and I really want to be that type of player. Like, when it's time to take the gloves off and play the best, I want to be able to bring out the best in my game to do it. So this is how it's looking. Up top, he has a unit of demigryphs and a small knight block. He got a bus of knights here in the middle. He has level 4 life in there. It's BSB, and he has a Runefang Grandmaster. 2 skull cannons. Oh, yeah, 2 skull cannons. I got demons on the brain. 2 steam tanks. Another unit of knights, and he has his demigryphs here on this right side, which I think he took that back. I think he moved them to the other side at this point. I have my plague bears. I put them in bus formation because if I'm going to go against the inner circle knights, I'm going to need as many bodies as I possibly can to absorb and try to get the tally going. I put my skull cannon here facing in that way. I think the one can't see me. I don't know, but I put the soul grinder here on the right flank. I like the soul grinder against steam tanks. I think they're a can opener, especially with the claw. And if I can get him stuck on a steam tank for a while, this flank of the table will be held up, and I want that. I want the soul grinder in on a steam tank. If I can get him in on both steam tanks, that'd be absolutely epic. If I just get him on one, that's fine too. But I really like the soul grinder against the steam tank. If you don't know what the claw does, I force an initiative test. He's initiative 3 on his little engineer guy that's in there, and if he fails that initiative test, I auto hit him. What I can do with the auto hit is I can trade in all my attacks with the soul grinder, which is only 4 anyway, and I can take 1 strength 10 that does d6 wounds, which I think just rips through steam tanks. So I get the first turn. I move up as such. I reposition Epidemius so that even if his tanks move up, they're just going to have to go through the beast. I'm just going to have to endure those cannon shots. I bring my cannon up to take shots at a steam tank and move the rest of the guys up like so. Here's the right side. I swing my soul grinder around. I know his skanks are going to be moving forward, so I'm going to have flank charges. I'm just setting them up so that I can get in there and get in on one of those skull cannons, steam tanks. Over here, I put Curse of the Leper on the cannon. He's now toughness 8, which doesn't matter. Well, yes, I think on steam tanks cannons strength 8. So yeah, that actually would kind of come into effect. Good move, Eric. Over here, his 1 sting tank decides to do 3 wounds to itself, which is excellent for me. And oh no, that was my cannonball shot. Cannonball shot did 3 wounds to the right stank. So yeah, turn 1 Empire. So he brings his demigryphs up kind of tentatively on this side, reforms them to keep a sufficient line, and they're stuck in the woods there. He pushes up the center like he's not afraid of my plague bearers, which is probably smart. And this steam tank lunges ahead. He's going to take a shot at my skull cannon. But yeah, so this is setting up so good for me. I want this soul grinder in on the steam tank. I was giving myself enough options that if I wanted to go for here, it'd be a longer charge, but this one seems to be so juicy. And if I do go in there and he counter charges, I'm taking impact hits, but they're only strength 6 and I'm toughness 7, and I was going to try to put Curse of the Leper on the soul grinder to even make that more of a better play. I don't know if I got it on or not, but so turn 2 demons. I make a pretty good charge with the beast against his left demigriff unit, and I bring the Great and Clean one up. I want the Great and Clean one to either support this unit or just go into here, and with his Bale Sword with the D3 wounds, I really like his chances against demigriffs. The way he's positioned, I think he has a level 2 of life, or level 2 light mage in here, which I'm pretty afraid of with the banishment, so I'm trying to get the Great and Clean one in, but I'm kind of conserving my dice, letting him throw his life buffs. Like he just put he got Flesh to Stone on his steam tank, anticipating my charge here. You're playing a good player, he's a step ahead of me, but then again, if he fails his initiative, it's strength 10 anyway, and so that's what I'm hoping for. If he fails that initiative test, I'm going to try to open up the can with the claw. So the rest of my lines, I pulled back a little bit with the plague bearers, just trying to buy myself a little bit of time. I got my redirectors up here. I'm going to use the pink hearts as a redirector if I need to. They rolled up the bolt thrower spell, which actually isn't too bad, especially with steam tanks. I mean, it's strength D6 plus 3, so there's a possibility that the bolt thrower could put in some work. It's not actually a bolt thrower; it doesn't have to roll the hit; it just auto hits. I pull the skull cannon back a little bit so that I don't have to take another cannon shot, dodge another cannon shot, and yeah, so that's the way it's shaping up. After combat here, I end up getting 5 wounds on the steam tank. That was pretty good. I think he did fail his initiative test, and strength 10, I did 5 wounds. That's not bad. I am set up for a flank charge. This is just what I was hoping. I mean, if he brings that other stank in and the soul grinder can maintain and not take too many wounds from the impact hits, now I have 2 steam tanks stuck on a soul grinder, and if that thing can hold out for just a little while I take care of the other side of the board, take care of the demigriffs, and then get all my lines back into the center and try to work on that bus. I'm thinking the bus can get stuck on the plague bearers for a couple turns and get redirected, so that's what I'm looking for in the center. After combat here, yeah, I really don't do too much to the demigriffs. He actually has a pretty good round against me. I think I even took an instability test on this, but I do get Curse of the Leper up on the plague bearers, and I actually put a vortex, which I was hoping to send to the right at his thing, but it decides to go on my head and then scatter off. And I learned something very important, and this is something that Mike taught me, was when you have a vortex and it goes its distance, but it has to pop through a unit, that extra distance popping through the unit, you don't have to take your test on. I never knew that. I thought if you somehow popped the purple sun down the lines and it went 48 inches, I thought everybody had to test. We looked it up. It was actually FAQ'd, I think. We had to pull up the FAQ to find it. But it's not that I didn't believe him. I just wanted to see it from my own eyes. And I'm that type of person, kind of a show me type of dude. But I think you have to be in Warhammer. That's one big thing. Never take the word of your opponent. You can kind of gauge their experience level, but if there's something that just doesn't seem right to you, take the time to look it up, because it could really mean the difference in a game. And your opponent should be understanding, because there's so many rules in this game that you should be able to just point it out, show them like, hey, here it is in the book, here it is in the FAQ, this is what it is. Just make sure you have it right, because people forget rules all the time. I forget rules all the time, and I don't mind people checking me. I'm more than happy to open my book and show them. And sometimes I do it, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm wrong, I'm sorry, But it's always better just to get it out of the way and make sure you have the rules right. So turn 2, Empire. Mike takes the bait. Well, I don't know if it was really taking the bait or not, but he decides to bring his knights in. again, I think they're just going to bounce off. We're the same weapon skill, and he's -1 to hit for being Nurgle, and on a charge, even if he's strength 5 or 6, whatever Empire Knights are, I probably should know that because I'm about to play Empire for a long time. I think he's just hoping that with the charge and a flank, and I can eliminate some wounds, if he can reduce some wounds against himself, that maybe he could pop the Soul Grinder and get him out of there. I don't think he needed to do this. I think he could have went around and let the Soul Grinder get stuck on it, but then again, if he does go in there and pops him and then frees up 2 steam tanks and his knights, risk versus reward, I think is a good call. He was able to take a wound off his skank through the Lord of Life. And over here after combat, yeah, not much happening again. The beast, and I kind of thought that they were going to get stuck on each other. It was just I needed the tally to start getting up, and I think once the tally gets up, I'm going to be looking pretty good. But Mike decides not to go into the flank of the Demigryphs. I think he could have fit in there somehow, but I guess he just didn't want to take a flank charge from the Great Unclean One. Turn 3, Demons. So I bring the Skull Cannon, and now I'm just trying to counteract that combat resolution to save the Soul Grinder. I'm hoping the Skull Cannon can go in there, maybe do a wound or 2. I'm going to have a charge, charge, and I still have a flank. He has a flank. There's no ranks. I don't even think he has a banner in that unit. So I'm just trying to swing the combat res, making sure that the Soul Grinder gets stuck there as long as possible. And I get to take... I had a decision to make here with the Great Unclean One. I could either go in here, support the beasts, break them off, and then reposition and try to get at these demis, or I could just go for the gusto. I do have the poison attacks and the D3 wounds. I'm going to be strength 7, I think, at this point. So that's a lot to subtract from his armor save. I went with this option just because I think I'm going to win this in the long run over here. But I just need the tally to get up, and this would be a quick way to get the tally up. I can get some wounds there, and I really need the Grand Unclean One had to be in combat because that I dodged a couple banishments already, and I don't want to dodge anymore. Center of his unit here, I think he miscast and blew up some of his own knights in the last turn. I bring the Furies up to chaff up his knight block. If he goes in and he has an overrun into the pink horrors, that's fine. If he gets stuck on the pink horrors, I'm going to countercharge in the flank with the Plague Bearers, and Plague Bearers in your flank is not where you want to be if you're knight, I don't think. So that's the way it's looking. And after combat, wow, I ended up killing 3 Demigryphs, and he wasn't steadfast, and I just broke him and ran him down. Great Unclean One just put in some serious work there. And that was absolutely huge to get that Demigryph unit out of there. I felt they were kind of out of position, but I was really contesting this flank with my Great Unclean One and all these beasts. So yeah, that was a big swing in this game. And over here, I finally get one of the demis off, but I've been taking wounds over here. But yeah, so they're not going to be steadfast and away from leadership. So I'm hoping I can get through those guys quick and get these beasts back into the center. And this mess keeps going on, but the Knights decided they didn't want to stick around and fight the Soul Grinder anymore, so they break, but they don't run off the board. I believe they will rally next turn or 2. I now have 7 wounds on the Steam Tank, and I'm just trying to grind away. He's putting every effort in with Lord of Life to get those wounds off. I'm okay if those skanks sit there the rest of the game with the Soul Grinder. I'm fine with that. I got a Knight block to deal with now. So his turn, yeah, he does go into the Furies to clean them up, and he regrew some Knights, and he reforms these guys to throw a banishment at the Great Unclean One, which is a smart move. And his Knights do rally up there. And over here, still stuck on his last Demigryph, I reformed to bring all my attacks in. Beast and Nurgle, they can only get 3 attacks from the back, so you gotta roll that one kind of separate. It's D6, and you don't max out at 3. But I do have a wound on 1, so I'm just grinding here. I'm hoping to get these guys, get those guys killed. I really wish I would have did it there on his turn. Not much going on this one. Tally is almost full. Yep, just 4.4 wounds away. Over here, this grind just keeps going on. I'm up to 8 wounds on this Steam Tank finally. I do break the Demigryphs and get to reform the Beast and Nurgle. I was debating whether to just put those beasts in the corner there to get the victory points, but I think I might need them against this Night Block. He is regrown him. He has Throne of Vines up, so he's able to cast with impunity. And Papa Nurgle's coming back to see what he can do. 1 point away from full. And he charges into the pink horrors that I chaffed him up with again, so he's going to try to clear those guys out. He's trying to get some distance away from the Great Unclean One. And after combat over here, I do break that one stank. I free up the Skull Cannon. I now have 4 wounds on the Soul Grinder, 2 wounds on the cannon. I reform the Skull Cannon to face the other Steam Tank and start working on him. Oh, let's go back one there. If you notice, his knights are gone. With the knights with the level 1 wizard. So what happened was, I had the Bolt Thrower spell. I put it down to flank, and I rolled, my first one was like Strength 9. I kill all the knights, and I wasn't 100% sure, but he was like, well, you killed the unit, but you can't kill the character because there was 5 knights to start with. I said, okay. I said, that sounds right. I said, but, I was like, you do agree that they were hit with Warp Flame, correct? He was like, well, yeah. He's like, yeah, that's right. So the Warp Flame would affect her at the end of the turn. He's like, yeah, all right. So he takes a toughness test. He fails, does D3 wounds, and it kills his level 2. If we play that right, I hope we play that right. I don't think it mattered overall, but I think we played it right. So yeah, he just reforms these guys. He's going to take the Plague Bearers in the front. What can you do? The trap is closing in. Turn 5, full tally, demons, and I bring everybody in. I bring the Skull Cannon in the back, so I'm going to have impact hits. I'm bringing the Plague Bearers into the front for my ranks, and Papa Nurgle makes a charge. Thank God he made it. So he brings his Runefang and his BSB over here, and I ended up splitting my attacks 3-on-3, and I ended up killing both of them with the poison and the D3 wounds. So he just couldn't get through it, and there he is taking a unit off, and that is the end of the game. So I did get max points in that one, 29 out of 29. It was a really fun game, and like I said, I just think it was one of my best tactical games I've played in a while, and it all just kind of came together for me. So that's the way it looks, 29 out of 29, and going into round 5, I find myself on table 3, which is absolutely amazing to me. Now I'm definitely, if I was fighting above my weight class in round 4 for sure, and now table 3, round 5 is going to be an epic battle. So thanks for watching, guys. Come back for round 5 and see how this all wraps up.